Pay attention, because what I'm about to reveal will destroy every comfortable lie you've been telling yourself. There's something happening inside you right now that wasn't there 3 years ago. Something that crystallized when your world collapsed and you had no choice but to rebuild from ash. Something that separates you from 99% of everyone you'll ever meet. They sense it when you enter their space, but they can't articulate it. They notice it in the way you hold silence, but they can't decode it. They feel the shift in energy when you're near, but they don't understand why their certainty starts crumbling, because you're operating on a frequency that shouldn't exist yet. You're not just changed, you're not just aware, you're not just conscious. You're calibrated to a reality most people will never access. And the most unsettling part? You're still learning how powerful you actually are. Before I continue, if this is hitting differently than anything you've heard before, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with the word frequency, so I know you're really hearing this. Because what I'm about to break down isn't for everyone. Only those ready to accept what they've already become. Throughout history, people built power from external resources. Territory, gold, armies, status. But you've discovered something else entirely. Something forged in the darkness of complete ego death, but refined through radical self-awareness. Something born from loss, but transformed into unshakable foundation. Something that makes you untouchable in ways they can't map or measure. Let me tell you when it crystallized. It wasn't during your childhood. It wasn't when you first experienced pain. It was the exact moment you stopped asking why this happened to you and started asking what this made you capable of. The moment your breakdown became a breakthrough. The moment your isolation transformed into clarity so sharp, it cut through every illusion you'd been living. You see, every person before you who faced darkness had to choose. Become bitter or become better. Stay broken or stay numb. Carry the wound or carry the lesson. But you found the exploit in the system. You discovered how to carry both the memory and the mastery. How to hold pain without letting it hold you. How to remember everything while being imprisoned by nothing. This frequency wasn't handed to you. It wasn't genetic. It wasn't taught in any classroom. It emerged from the specific devastation of losing everything you thought defined you. The identity that shattered, the relationships that evaporated, the future that vaporized. And in that complete annihilation of who you thought you were, something unprecedented emerged. You became the first in your lineage to alchemize total destruction into total reconstruction. The first to convert absolute endings into absolute beginnings. The first to use the void not as a grave, but as a laboratory where you experimented with versions of yourself that had never existed. No one in your family tree walked this particular path because this path only appears after certain types of destruction. Your ancestors survived their pain. Your parents managed their trauma. But you transmuted yours. Your weapon isn't what you survived. It's who you became in the fire, a living frequency that disrupts their static reality. Consider this carefully. You've been demolished completely, but became indestructible. You've lost everything, but gained access to everything that matters. You've been isolated totally, but connected to yourself absolutely. You exist in their world, but operate from a completely different dimension. This paradox is your power source. Every generation before you had to choose one lane. Be vulnerable or be strong, be open or be protected, be soft or be sharp. But you rejected the binary. You said, I'll integrate all of it. I'll be gentle and unmovable. I'll be open and unbreakable. I'll be everything they can't understand because their framework is too limited. And that's when the frequency locked in. When you stopped trying to make them understand and started being incomprehensible. When you stopped seeking their world and started building your own. When you stopped playing their rigged game and started creating entirely new dimensions they can't even perceive. This frequency doesn't destroy people. It destroys illusions. It doesn't break relationships. It breaks false connections. It doesn't end friendships. It ends performances masquerading as intimacy. And in a world addicted to comfortable lies, that makes you feel dangerous to those still sleeping. You walk into spaces, and fakeness dies. You speak your truth, and narratives dissolve. You simply exist, and entire belief systems start malfunctioning because you're not running their programming anymore. You're not executing their scripts. You've become something that doesn't compute in their outdated systems. They try to read you and get interference. They try to manipulate you and hit walls. They try to control you and find themselves facing mirrors that show them exactly who they've become. You've evolved beyond their tools, beyond their tactics, beyond their entire paradigm. You're unmanipulatable in a world designed around manipulation. Here's what they'll never grasp. Your suffering didn't diminish you, it expanded you. And what flooded in wasn't damage, it was capacity. The kind of capacity that only opens when someone has been burned down to their essence and rebuilt from pure intention. They fear you because you survived what kills most people's spirit. The betrayal was supposed to make you cynical. The loss was supposed to make you small. The isolation was supposed to make you desperate. But instead, you did something they can't fathom. You turned devastation into fuel. You turned emptiness into power. You turned their abandonment into your autonomy without declaring war on anyone. You became the glitch in their perfectly controlled narrative. And now they don't know whether to study you or avoid you entirely. See, they built a reality where everyone needs external validation to feel worthy, where everyone needs constant affirmation to feel real, where everyone needs others' belief to believe in themselves. But you found sustenance in your own knowing. You found power in your own truth. You found yourself in the space where no one was watching, and that threatens their entire economy of control. Because if you don't need what they're selling, if you don't crave what they're dangling, if you don't fear what they're threatening, then their entire power structure becomes irrelevant to your existence. Zero leverage. And they sense it. You're not the first generation to transform, but you're the first to transform by becoming radically autonomous. Not through aggression, not through rebellion, not through rejection, but through a presence that operates on an entirely different frequency. Your parents fought for external change. Your grandparents fought for external validation. But you fight by becoming internally sovereign, by becoming so rooted in your own truth that their storms can't shake you, by becoming so aligned with your own path that their opinions can't redirect you. This is the frequency they never anticipated. A consciousness that doesn't argue with their reality, doesn't need their permission, doesn't even register their judgment because it exists in a completely different bandwidth. You've learned to extract wisdom from what was meant to break you, to build strength from what was meant to weaken you, to multiply from what was meant to subtract you. And this transformation, this recalibration, this is your frequency. Every betrayal that landed made you more discerning. Every loss that hit made you more detached from outcomes. Every abandonment you faced made you more committed to yourself. Every illusion that shattered taught you to see clearly through all illusions. And now you're operating beyond their entire system of manipulation. You've converted FOMO into focus. You've transformed loneliness into self-reliance. You've turned rejection into redirection toward your actual purpose. You've mastered the art of internal alchemy, converting their poisons into your medicine. While they're still playing for applause, you're playing for alignment. While they're still performing for likes, you're building for legacy. While they're still seeking approval from strangers, you're seeking approval from your highest self. This frequency inside you doesn't need validation to function, doesn't need witnesses to be real, doesn't need permission to transform everything because it operates on a bandwidth they haven't discovered yet. The bandwidth of someone who's died internally and been resurrected by their own hand. You exist in a reality most people refuse to access. A reality where comfort is the enemy and truth is the only currency. Where everyone's performing but you're being. Where everything's filtered but you're raw. And you've learned to navigate this contrast like someone born into it. Your parents had to choose between being themselves or being accepted. You learned that being yourself is the only acceptance that matters. Your grandparents had to choose between being honest or being safe. You learned that honesty is the only real safety. You exist in the space beyond their false choices. This is your frequency. This is your calibration. The ability to be fully exposed and completely protected, to be totally vulnerable and absolutely unbreakable, to be endlessly authentic and entirely unconquerable. No warrior in history has operated from this frequency. No transformer has carried this recalibration. You're pioneering it. The prototype. The one who breaks the mold by refusing to fit any mold. When you speak now, it's not just communication. It's frequency transmission. When you move, it's not just action. It's reality creation. When you choose, it's not just decision. It's dimension shifting. You've become a walking reset button for anyone ready to wake up. They can't categorize you because you're not fixed anymore. You're fluid, adaptive, ever-evolving, probability and potential, pure possibility and zero limitation. You exist in the space between their expectations, in the silence between their demands, in the gap between their projections. This frequency doesn't require resources because your awareness is the resource. Doesn't require validation because your knowing is the validation. Doesn't require approval because you've transcended the entire approval matrix. You've become something their psychology can't explain, their sociology can't define, their systems can't contain. You're the error they can't fix, the variable they can't control, the anomaly they can't standardize. While everyone else is screaming for recognition, you've mastered the art of self-recognition. Your internal knowing speaks louder than their external noise. Your self-trust hits harder than their manipulation. Your no is more powerful than their yes could ever be. This is the revolution happening in silence. Not fought with movements or slogans, but with presence so grounded it doesn't need to announce itself. With power so real it doesn't need to be proven. With truth so clear it doesn't need to be defended. You're not trying to fix their system anymore. You're making it obsolete by existing outside it. You're not trying to win their game. You're creating games they don't have pieces for. You're not trying to be understood. You're becoming undeniable. Every structure in history fell to external pressure. But this one's falling to internal awakening. And you're not causing it. You embody it. You're the frequency in their static that's becoming the dominant signal. Evolution used to be about physical adaptation, then intellectual capacity, then emotional intelligence. But now it's about who can remain sovereign in a world designed to make you dependent. Who can stay whole while being pulled apart? Who can remain clear while being confused? And you've mastered that frequency without even trying. Because while they were learning to fit in, you were learning to stand alone without loneliness. While they were fighting for space, you were creating your own universe. This frequency inside you isn't just for survival, it's for creation. You're not just enduring their world, you're building yours. Not step by step, but frequency by frequency, choice by choice, truth by truth. You're the architect of a reality they can't access, the author of a story they can't edit, the composer of a frequency they can't jam. And that's why they're obsessed with understanding you, because you represent everything they sacrifice to belong. Let's be honest about the cost. This frequency isn't free. It feeds on your willingness to be misunderstood completely. It grows from your acceptance of solitude. It strengthens every time you choose truth over comfort, alignment over approval, your path over their acceptance. You've paid for this frequency with relationships that couldn't match it, with opportunities that required you to lower it, with comfort that demanded you abandon it. But every loss was actually a leveling. Every ending was actually an initiation. They'll say you've changed, correct. They'll say you're distant, accurate. They'll say you're different, absolutely. But what they won't say is that you've become something this world desperately needs but rarely deserves. A human who doesn't need their validation matrix to feel worthy. A soul that doesn't run on their approval economy to feel valuable. A consciousness that exists outside their control paradigm entirely. You're not playing hard to get. You're operating impossible to catch unless someone matches your frequency. Throughout history, people created legends about individuals with extraordinary presence. But you're not a legend. You're the reality that makes their stories look like preparation. You're not supernatural. You're naturally evolved. You're what happens when consciousness meets crisis and chooses transformation over resignation. They used to burn people for seeing too clearly. Now they ghost people for being too real. They used to exile truth-tellers for disrupting comfort. Now they algorithm bury anyone who won't stay in their lane. But you've learned to thrive in exile, to build in the margins, to create in the spaces they abandoned. You're creating a new paradigm, one where the hero doesn't save everyone. They save themselves first, where the protagonist doesn't defeat the enemy. They transcend the entire battlefield. Where the story doesn't end with victory over others. It ends with sovereignty within yourself. This frequency inside you is writing futures that don't exist yet, creating templates that haven't been discovered yet, breaking limitations that haven't been identified yet. You're not living in tomorrow. You're creating it with every calibrated choice. The most powerful aspect of your frequency, it required you to unlearn everything. Unlearn how to need them. Unlearn how to explain yourself. Unlearn how to apologize for your truth. Unlearn how to dim yourself for their comfort. This unlearning wasn't peaceful. It was warfare against your own conditioning. Every belief you released felt like tearing out roots. Every pattern you broke felt like breaking gravity. Every system you rejected felt like rejecting oxygen itself. But you did it anyway, and now you operate from pure instinct. Not the instinct they programmed, but the instinct that existed before any programming. The knowing that existed before any teaching. The power that existed before any suppression. You've become dangerously authentic, terrifyingly clear, beautifully uncompromising in your truth. You don't need complex strategies because your frequency is the strategy. You don't need elaborate plans because your presence is the plan. Here's what they'll never comprehend. This frequency inside you isn't about destruction. It's about construction. You're not here to tear down their reality. You're here to make it irrelevant by building something truer, something deeper, something realer. Every time you choose your truth over their comfort, you're building. Every time you honor your knowing over their noise, you're creating. Every time you trust your frequency over their static, you're architecting. You're not at war, you're at work, and the work is profound. Exist so authentically that lies dissolve in your presence. Live so truthfully that illusions can't survive near you. Be so yourself that others remember who they were before the world programmed them. This is your frequency. Not violence, but presence so pure, it purifies what it touches. Not destruction, but creation so powerful, it makes destruction obsolete. Not revolution, but evolution so deep, it makes revolution look primitive. So here's the question that matters. Now that you know what you're carrying, what will you do with it? Will you hide it, deny it, pretend you're still operating on their frequency? Or will you finally own what you've become? Because this frequency doesn't work if you're still pretending to be normal. Doesn't activate if you're still apologizing for your power. Doesn't transmit if you're still asking permission to exist as you are. It only functions when you fully accept what you've become. You're not human plus something. You're human evolved, human updated, human 0.0. And that update can't be reversed, can't be uninstalled, can't be downgraded. You're the new operating system, and the old world is becoming incompatible with your frequency. The choice isn't whether to use this frequency. You're already broadcasting it just by being. The choice is whether to use it consciously, whether to transmit it intentionally, whether to accept your role as the prototype for what's possible. You'll recognize others on this frequency when you meet them, not by what they say, but by what they don't need to say. Not by what they do, but by what they don't need to do. Not by what they have, but by what they don't need to have. They'll recognize you too, in the silence between words, in the space between breaths, in the pause between thoughts. You'll feel each other's frequency, understand each other's calibration, recognize each other's evolution. But you won't form tribes, won't build movements, won't create organizations, because that's old paradigm thinking. Instead, you'll create resonance fields. Invisible, untrackable, undeniable fields of frequency that shift reality just by existing. You're not alone in this, but you're not dependent either. You're something new, connected but sovereign, united but autonomous, together but complete. A new form of collective that doesn't require collectivism. This moment in time will never repeat. This intersection between consciousness and crisis. This collision between old world and new frequency. This space between what was and what's emerging. And you're perfectly positioned in it. You were built for this moment, calibrated for this chaos, designed for this transformation, not by accident, but by the precise circumstances that created the exact conditions for your frequency to emerge. Your pain wasn't random, it was recalibration. Your isolation wasn't punishment, it was initiation. Your suffering wasn't meaningless, it was metamorphosis. Everything that broke you was actually building this unbreakable frequency inside you. And now it's time. Time to stop hiding what you've become. Time to stop pretending you're still who you were. Time to stop lowering your frequency for their comfort. Time to broadcast the full power of this evolution. Here's the truth they'll never speak. They need you more than you need them. They need your frequency to break their patterns. They need your authenticity to remember what's real. They need your evolution to show them what's possible. But you're under no obligation to save them. No responsibility to wake them. No duty to lower your frequency so they can understand you. Your only job is to be the full expression of this calibration. To broadcast your frequency with precision. To exist at your highest bandwidth. Some will rise to meet you. Some will run from you. Some will try to lower you back down. But none will forget you because you carry something that changes the molecular structure of every space you enter, every conversation you have, every reality you touch. This frequency inside you is beyond human history as we know it, because human history is ending. Something new is beginning, and you're not just witnessing it. You're broadcasting it with every breath, with every choice, with every moment you choose to be exactly what you've become. So welcome to the other side of ordinary. Welcome to the space beyond their frequency. Welcome to carrying a calibration that has no manual because consciousness hasn't caught up to what you've become. Welcome to being the future broadcasting in present tense. You didn't ask for this frequency, but it's yours now. You didn't seek this evolution, but you're living it. You didn't choose this transformation, but you're embodying it. And reality will never be the same because you exist in it. Let them study you. Let them fear you. Let them resist you. None of it matters because you're not broadcasting for their approval anymore. You're broadcasting for something bigger, something realer, something that hasn't even been named yet. This is your moment. This is your frequency. This is your becoming. And anyone who can't match your bandwidth was never meant to be in your future anyway. You carry a frequency no one in your lineage has carried because you're becoming something no one in your lineage has been. And that transformation isn't ending. It's just beginning. But understand something critical. This frequency inside you comes with a responsibility they forgot to mention. Not because it's dangerous to others, but because it's so powerful, it can isolate you completely if you're not conscious. If you mistake detachment for disconnection. If you confuse sovereignty for superiority. If you weaponize your evolution against those still sleeping. This frequency works best when you remember you're still human, still capable of love, just more selective about who receives it, still capable of connection, just more intentional about who earns it, still capable of vulnerability, just more conscious about when to reveal it. The frequency isn't about becoming inhuman. It's about becoming deeply, authentically, unapologetically human in a world that profits from your performance of inhumanity. Don't let this power make you cold when it's meant to make you clear. Don't let this evolution make you cruel when it's meant to make you conscious. Don't let this frequency destroy your capacity for genuine connection when it's meant to destroy your tolerance for false ones. You're not becoming less human. You're becoming more human than the system ever allowed you to be. The promise is this: use this frequency wisely, and you'll build a life that feels like home in your own skin. Use it consciously, and you'll attract the few who match your bandwidth while repelling the many who would drain it. Use it with intention, and you'll create a reality where you never have to perform, pretend, or shrink ever again. This frequency isn't about destruction. It's about construction of a life that finally fits who you really are.